Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be replacing the valve cover gasket on my E90 with the N51 engine. Now for parts, all you're going to need is the valve cover gasket kit. This is the part number right here. It's going to come with 3 gaskets where the ignition coils go through, or the spark plugs. You have the main gasket kit here. You're also going to need this gasket. We normally refer to this as the football gasket. Here's the part number, and then one more for the valvetronic connector. Looks like this, and I'll put the part number right here. BMW also recommends that we replace the bolt here on the strut tower, one here, one over there, and the center one, and some ignition coil sleeves. So if you're interested in that, I'll put a link down in the description with all those part numbers as well. Now if your hood shocks aren't strong enough and the hood actually falls down, you can use one of these tools to hold it up. I'll put a link for this as well. Essentially how this works is it's got a brass fitting right here so it doesn't damage the shock. Just tighten it up like that, and now the hood won't come down. I'll put a link right here too for the video I did to replace these hood shocks. So we'll go ahead and start off by removing both panels here on the side, left and right, and then the microfilter housing right here. Clip on either side. The microfilter housing has 6 8mm screws, and they do tend to get lost around here. So I'll put a link down in the description for the part numbers for these little screws as well if you want to replace the ones you're missing. Now these wires and connectors here, you'll find one on either side. Just be careful pulling these off because they can break or come off the tape. So you don't pull from the tape. Grab the bracket on either side and pull that. See, this one right here already came apart, so we'll just grab this and put this to the side. Now this side just has one plug, and you can see this one already came off the holders here, so just grab this, put it to the side. Now this panel here should have 2 8mm screws. They go here and one over there, but just like the 8mm on the microfilter, they can go missing. But they should look like this. They're more finer threads, have a little washer on it. This is what they should look like. And then we'll remove. Now removing this is pretty easy. All you gotta do is just pull on it. It'll come right off. Now the back part right here, you're gonna wanna get a flathead screwdriver and just pry under here. Take those clips off. And then you'll work the harness out of the holder. Now we could reach in and pull this off. Now you can see the seal came off with mine. That's perfectly fine, don't worry about it. It easily just snaps back on. But for a future part we're gonna remove, we're just gonna remove the gasket altogether right now. So now we're gonna work on the bolts right here on the side. One over there, one over here, and the center one. So for the bolt here, you're looking at an E14 right here, and it is the inverted star. And now for the bolt right here in the center, you're gonna want to grab a screwdriver like this, flathead. That's just to pry off the cover. Now I shouldn't have said pry off because we're not prying, but essentially you just turn it to the left, it unlocks, and you can pull it right off. And inside you'll find the E18 bolt right here. So here's what it looks like, and it is the inverted star as well. Now don't use a power tool to break this bolt loose. I've seen people break their windshields because of this. The vibration resonates from here through to the body right here, and it cracks the windshield. So now it's loose, so I could use the power tool just to drive it out. There you go. These are also the bolts that BMW recommends you replace. Now you can just grab them and slide on out. Now there's one more cover I want to remove before we continue, and it's going to be where the strut tower braces go through. You got 3 10mm screws. We're going to take those out. Now I'll explain in the future part of the video why we are removing this. But essentially it's going to help with removing the valve cover, so we want this off. Next we're going to be disconnecting the power. This really should have been step 1, my mistake right there. But we're gonna start working with some power over here, so we're gonna go ahead and remove that negative battery terminal. Over here on the trunk, on the right side, you'll find the panel that houses the negative battery terminal. And inside you have the battery. We'll go ahead and remove this with a 10mm nut and set that to the side. Okay, so now we have a plastic cover right here. We're just gonna undo by hand. And we'll set this to the side. And now right here you have a 10mm and a 13. We're gonna remove both of these. Now what I do, just so I don't lose this, I just put this cover back on. You can leave it like that. Now we're going to loosen up some of the wiring right here in the fuse box, but to do that, we're going to remove the top cover. So you got to unlock here, slide that, this side's already unlocked, and then over here in the corner, you lift up and undo these clips, one on either side, and then over here in the corner, you got 2 more. So you need to reach in under here, undo those clips too. Now you can pull the cover off. Now I know this looks intimidating, don't worry, we're not doing much here. All I'm gonna do is just take them off the holders here like this. And that's all we're gonna do. We're not gonna do anything in here. This is just so we have more space to pull these wires up when we're removing the valve cover. Now we're gonna move on to the engine cover here. You're gonna use a 5mm hex, like this, 5mm. If you don't have one of these, a T30 would work too. You're gonna have one here, one right there, and then another one hidden way under here. Last one you'll see here, right here in this corner, but mine is missing. So now, the only thing to do is just unclip the vacuum line right here and pull it out. So next we're going to be removing this coolant hose right here. It won't be much coolant coming out. A couple of rags underneath it just to catch any escaping coolant would be enough. Just shove it down in there, pretty much where it's gonna fall. You'll undo the clip here. Now once this clip is undone and kind of held up right here on its own, we can go in here and pry this out a little bit. Be careful with this hose because it can be brittle. So be very delicate with this coolant hose. Now if it does break, this is a fairly easy hose to replace. You have a T20 here and another T20 here. That removes the intake pipe here, and then it just connects right here. If you've never had this hose replaced, chances are it might break on you just by tugging on it from here to here, because this is very brittle. If it does, I'll put the part number right here on the screen for you, so you can go ahead and order that part. Next, we're going to remove this hose that connects to this little pipe over here, and it's held on by two 10mm nuts that's bolted onto the side of the head. You pinch together on the side here. Now, the 2 nuts that are buried under there are extremely hard to get to, unless you have an 11-inch extension, something like this, and you want this wobble feature, and a deep 10mm hex socket with a magnet in the center. And the wobble feature is this, so you want your socket to be able to wobble around like this. Now those 2 10mm nuts are so buried down in there, I can't even show you on the camera. So I'm gonna have to remove them first and then show you what they look like. So I have it on my drill bit and connected like this. Now the way I do it, I come in at an angle right in here, and then with my other hand, I reach in under, and then I'm going to flick this up like this, hold it in like that to get it into the 10mm. The best I can as a visual. So here you have the guy. This is how I'm holding it right here with my right hand, and the left hand goes in under here, and you can see here where the socket is attached to right there. That's where the 10mm is, and then the other one is just on the other side right there. Now to get the other one, I'm going to be putting the extension right through here, down in there, and again using my other hand to flick this onto the 10mm. And here are those two 10mm nuts. Now you could just reach in and pull this on out. Now with it out of the way, here you can see clearly where it's mounting onto right there. Now we're going to start removing some electrical connections, starting with the O2 sensors right here. Now the plastic housing right here, these are the connection points for the fuel injectors. We're going to need to take this off. Easiest way is to just spray the connectors right here with a little bit of WD-40. Remove two connectors near the oil filter. One for the coolant, one for the oil. And just set these to the side. Now starting towards the front of the engine, you're going to want to grab just like this and try to get in here with the other hand. And you're just going to lift up like this. So once you get this side off, don't continue just pulling this way. You kind of want this to come out evenly. So once this is off here, move over to the back side. And now you're going to pull on it the same way, just straight up, just like this, okay? We're not like tugging out, just with your fingers like this, just like that. And now this is off. Next, we're going to be removing all the electrical connections here. If there's anything important, I'll slow down the video, but for now we're just gonna kind of go through this a little quick. To remove these, I use a hook like this. Just be careful not to grab the wires. Make sure you grab under the coil, bring it on up. And this is just so you don't hurt your finger, because these can get a little bit difficult to pull up. Now, as I was removing ignition coil number 3, I did notice there is a small screw right there. That's an E8, and it's supposed to be in there, just like this side. We'll get to that in a bit, but for now, we do need that screw. Got it. We have two 8mm nuts, one here and one on this side, right there. Now the connector for the valvetronic can be quite difficult to remove by hand, but sometimes they get really stuck. If they are stuck, use a pair of pliers. You could gently open the clamps, and then with your other hand, pull it off. Now to remove this connector, it's just a tug up, like that. And one thing you do want to look for is oil inside of this connector. Obviously you don't want any oil inside of this connector, but if you do, that just means that the valvetronic sensor needs to be replaced. And I'll show you where that's at on the inside once we remove the valve cover. We have 3 clips to undo, one here, and the clip holding the holder right here. To undo these is very simple. Just push down on the center like this, and then pull up. This clip right here, you just move it side to side and it'll come right off. Now once you have all this taken off, the rest of this is just folded back. Now the way I do it is I just shove this down in here and bring this and lay it down right there. This will give me enough working space to remove the valve cover. Now removing the valvetronic motor right here takes a few steps. We need a 4mm hex like this in order to turn that valvetronic motor. So right in here, that's where the hole is for the 4mm hex. And we're gonna turn the valvetronic motor to the right, tighten this up, but you're not really tightening anything up. What you're doing is adjusting the valvetronic camshaft. You're just gonna keep turning it, and right here. I can't turn no more. Don't force this. This is it. This is the end stop. You reached the maximum point. You just stop there. And now we have 3 screws, 8 E8s, one here, the one over here that was missing but we found, and one right in here. So we're going to put the one that we found back in. So see how that E8 is not fully out? Same thing on this one, I screwed it in a little bit. That's how you want those screws to be, just like that. Once we got that crack loose, we can go ahead and remove it all the way. So we got one. And now, we didn't see that this shot out, so now we can undo these. We have another one here, and now the other one over here. Now with the 4mm hex, we're gonna go in reverse now. So the other one was righty, now we're going lefty. And at the same time, you're going to just jiggle this. Jiggle it out, slowly turning. And it'll come right out, just like that. Now the last thing to remove is going to be a hose that's connected to the back, at the back of the valve cover. Now this hose is very brittle. It can break upon removal. I'm going to show you how I remove it. Essentially there's a clip here that needs to come up and a clip right underneath it that also needs to be undone. Now this isn't the clip that's back there, but this is the exact same style where essentially you need to squeeze both sides to undo the tab here and undo the tab here. Now what I'm going to be doing is getting my flathead, coming in between here, sliding to where the locking tab is and lifting up, and then I'm going to slide over onto the underside and unclip it over there. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to grab the hose here with my right hand, screwdriver on the left, and we're going to slide under here and pry this up and then tug on it. Kind of just hold it in the unlocked position. Now you got to be careful because again, this hose is very, very brittle. It can break just by looking at it. So we got to come under here now, just going back and forth. And this is usually when it breaks, when you're trying to go back and forth and unlocking one side, switching over to unlock the underside. And sometimes it's just going to break and there's nothing you can do about it. So just pray that it doesn't and do your best to get it undone. Now to remove the valve cover, there is a torque sequence to remove them. I'm going to go ahead and put up on the spring the torque sequence right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove all the bolts, and then we'll get to the part where we got to remove the valve cover. One little note for you as you guys are removing it: this center bolt, the 10mm, and the 2 E10s right under here, that one, and this one, those are the only bolts that are actually going to come out. The rest will stay inside. They're not going to come out, okay? Same thing with the ones all the way around. Those stay on the valve cover. Don't try to actually pull them off. Just that one, and that one are going to come off. Now when it comes to removing the bolts. Most of them are easy to get to, but the ones in the back corners, like the bottom left and the one around right here, those are going to be the hardest ones to get to. To get to the one like right here in this area, you're going to want a wobble, something like this. Something how I showed you earlier. You get your E10, put it on your wobble extension, and you can get to those bolts. The one in the very back corner, that one's a little different. You're going to want a universal wobble that goes onto your extension, and then you're going to get your E10, put that on there, and then this is what you'll be able to use to get to that last one on the back corner over there. There's the back corner, bottom left, and then 2 more that go up the side of the valve cover. You can use this to get to all 3 of those. So yeah, it's not easy to get to those, so definitely have some patience to get to those ones right here in the back corner. Okay, so now we have all the bolts loosened up, got the 3 bolts removed. Now one thing you're going to find is that this is stuck. It is not going to want to come off by hand. Like, you can tug on this all you want, it's stuck. So how do you get it off? Some people may not like this, but this is how you do it. You get yourself a pry bar, and right here in this corner, you're gonna pry very, very slowly and just lift like this. Very, very slowly. And you're not gonna go all the way. Once you're starting to break it loose right here like that, go ahead and stop. And now you can try and grab this and lift up the rest of the way. So it's still not all the way out. You gotta get the ones, everything undone over here. Now again, this isn't, I'm not gonna fast forward through any of this because you guys need to see how this is done. So right here, I feel something stuck right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure this bolt's undone. Nothing here needs to be forcefully undone, okay? So if something's stuck, chances are there's a bolt that's still threaded in. So just undo it a little bit more. See, now it's coming undone. Now it's coming. Now we're free. Now here's another difficult part. Right here in this corner, this is where you're gonna have the most difficult time getting this valve cover to clear around here. I'm gonna show you how to go ahead and go around that though. So first you wanna see if you could actually remove it just by lifting up right here. And now what we're trying to do is we're lifting. We're gonna lift up, but kind of angle it towards this way and bring it over here. And now we have, see how this is loose right here? That's why we removed that panel here. So we have access to be able to kind of flex this a little bit if we need to get in on that side. Okay, so here is what I wanted to show you. So here in this corner, as I'm lifting, it's actually hitting this AC line right here. So it's not gonna allow me to come up. Now, why does this happen? Chances are the motor mounts are collapsed a little bit and it's making that engine sag down a little more than it should. And because it's sagged down, now it's more at an angle and it's making it a lot harder to get past this corner. So what you can do is go under the vehicle, remove the panel right here. You want to remove this, and then with a jack and a piece of wood, a block of wood, go under the oil pan and jack it up just a little bit. You don't need a lot because remember it's on the motor mount, and we're just going to jack it up just a little bit so it brings it back up to our normal height that it's supposed to be at. So I'll show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it without jacking up the engine. Basically, we're just going to lift up here. And again, I'm not going to put any cuts here because I want you to see how this is done. I'm going to show you everything that I struggle with, anything that can prevent you from getting this out. So right here, I'm kind of like, I'm stuck right here in the corner and I need to lift up, but at the same time, shove it this way towards the front. And you see right there, I got it out. But honestly, this is a lot of feel and experience to be able to take it out like that without breaking anything. So just be very careful when you're gonna do this, because I've done this hundreds of times, so I know exactly how to pull it, when to pull it, how much force and all that, and I can't really explain that to you in a video other than just telling you what I'm doing. But even then, it's still going to be difficult if this is your first time. Like, I struggled, I think, 2 to 3 hours alone the first time I did this, trying to get that thing out. But after doing this hundreds of times, as I told you, it's a lot easier for me. So just take your time. This is very, very intricate, or there's not a lot of space to work here. So just take your time with this. Go slowly. Don't force anything. Nothing here needs to be forced out, because you can damage some vents under here. See here on the back side, this vent here and this vent here, this actually can fall off if you don't undo this correctly, or if you put too much force. So again, just be careful. Again, I've done this plenty of times, so I know where to tug, how to tug, and all that. I can tell you what I'm doing, but it's a lot different when you're actually there doing it. Okay, so now I have it on a little tray here. Now we're just going to peel away the old valve cover gasket. Okay, set this down. And then the ones for the ignition coils, peel this out. Now normally we take this to a parts cleaner or parts wash, and we wash all this oil off, get it all nice and clean. But unfortunately here we do not have one of those, so I'm gonna use a brake parts cleaner. This is the part number. You don't need this exact cleaner. This is just the one that I have access to. So you can go to any store and get this. And we're just gonna clean off the oil inside the galleys where the gasket goes. And what you can do is grab like a flathead with a shop rag and go in between where the gasket goes to make sure it's all nice and dry and clean in there. Go all the way around the gasket just like this, because I don't expect you guys to have a parts wash at your home, so I'm not going to use one. This is how I would do it. Just get in here and clean it all out. So once you're done cleaning all the valve cover on this side, we're going to flip this over. Replace some of the gaskets right here. First up is the football shaped gasket. 2 screws. So before you remove this, pay attention to the way this is laid out. See how the circle here is closer to the top and there's a bit of a gap here? There's a direction, so don't put it upside down. Put it the same way. And once again, here's the part number for the football shaped gasket. See, hole closer to the top. And in case you're wondering, you can't put it upside down. It won't let you. It's gonna be so weird and so out of shape, you'll realize that it's upside down. And now we come to the valvetronic gasket here. Let's clean off the area a little bit. You're gonna want a flathead screwdriver. And we're gonna get under here and pry it up very slowly. And it does require quite a bit of force, but just go slow so you can get under there and pull it out. No striking, no like hard chiseling here. This is just a quick motion like that, but it's a lot of force. You got to put a lot of force, but slow, equal force, folding it out, just like how you saw. And then we clean the surface. New gasket. Once again, I'll put the part number. And this is just pushed in. Make sure it's seated all the way down like this. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and put in the valve cover gasket. Here's the part number. Now for these, you just fit them in place. And now we can put in the main gasket. I'm gonna look for this tab right here, and that tab is gonna go right here in this corner. So it's a good place to start. Okay, so now that we got the gasket in place all around, this is a profile gasket, which basically just means it is shaped to the grooves it's going to go into. So all these little curves right here, they should match everywhere you go. You don't force it into these grooves. They should just go inside of them like that. Now here's another tip. Before we put this back in the car, I would recommend that you put some crazy glue, super glue, anything like this. You put a dab of it, a little dab of glue inside of the gasket. The reason for this is because when you bring that gasket or the valve cover over and you're sliding it across all this, there's a chance, very high chance, that anywhere on these points, that gasket will roll out of its slot and you won't see it because of where it is. It's so far down in there. You're gonna be too busy trying to just get the valve cover in that you won't notice that it rolled on you. And when you go to tighten everything up, you could turn on the car, you have a big leak. So this is how you prevent it. So every so often, once you place the gasket, you just lift it. And you put a little drop of crazy glue in there, something like that, and close it up. And you want to do that pretty much all around the valve cover. Okay, so now crazy glue is on. You can see if I tug on this, this isn't gonna unfold very easily. This one came off a little bit, but that's okay because it's the center parts here that I put the glue in. Right here it will fold up a little bit, but here's where I put the glue. Same thing over here. Okay, this isn't gonna come off now. Now before we put the valve cover in, I did want to show you about the valvetronic sensor here. So if this is leaking oil, you have two 10mm bolts here and one further down, which is accessed through that hole. So essentially you would need to undo these 3 screws, pull off this sensor, bring it up, and put the new sensor back in. All right, so now we're gonna go in. Now you're gonna have to do your best to try to put it in at the same angle that you did taking it out. Again, this is not easy. Take your time here. Make sure you're not tugging on anything. Nothing's getting caught. Wires are gonna need to be moved as you go in. Right here I have the coolant hose under the valve cover, so I gotta move it a little bit, get it under. Don't forget the hose back here. Make sure you don't have any wires getting caught. And you're set in. Now I just want to re-emphasize, I know I made this look really easy going back in. Chances are yours is not going to go in that easy. It might get caught somewhere. Your motor mount might be dropped a little more than it should be. You're going to get caught right here in this corner, okay? You got to watch out for this AC line. You got to watch out for this fuse box here. It's going to get caught here. Right here, I'll point this out real quick. Someone broke this tab right here because they were trying to get in here and while they were getting that valve cover out. There's no need to break anything. That's not the way it should be done. Just take your time, get this done right, and just slowly go in at an angle. You gotta like move it side to side and sit it down. Now before you start torquing down all the screws, get yourself a inspection mirror, something like this. It's really small, it's like about an inch wide. You can shove this down into the corner over there with a flashlight and check to see if the valve cover gasket has rolled on you. Now it should look like this. Here, see how you can see the gasket right there? That's how it should look. If you don't see the gasket, chances are it rolled inside. So with the inspection mirror, you can go in and look around the whole back side of the engine just to make sure it all looks just like that. Okay, see? Okay, this is the front of the engine right here. So you should be able to see the gasket just like this, all the way across on the back side. With your inspection mirror, this is how it should look. So if you don't see the gasket, chances are it rolled in. So everything is torqued down. I'll put the torque spec right here again. You're looking at 8.6 Newton meters torque spec with plus or minus of 0.6 Newton meters. Once everything is torqued down in the right torque sequence, I'll put that up on the screen again. We're gonna go ahead and just put everything back in reverse order. I'm gonna go ahead and speed by through that, but if anything is of significant importance, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video and give a little more explanation. Starting with that valvetronic motor, because it is a little tricky to go back in. I just want to make sure we put it in correctly. All right, so the valvetronic motor, we're back with the 4mm here, and we're gonna insert this as far as we can, which is about right there. And now with the 4mm, we're gonna go on the back side and screw in, and you'll see that it's gonna pull itself in like this. And now see this hole right here down here? You don't want to go too far because then we can't screw this hole in. So right around right here is good, because if we keep going, it's gonna block it off and then the screw won't fit very well. So just back up just a little bit. We're not going all the way back down to the end stop. Right there is good. And this is that hole I'm talking about right here. So you want to make sure this isn't blocked off, because if you go too far, it's going to block it off. So just about right here. So now we're going to very carefully put in the screw. Again, I'd recommend something with the wobble. Carefully guide this screw in and just turn it by hand till the threads catch. You might need to move this up and down a little bit. Right there, the thread's caught. So we're not tightening anything down yet, okay? So it's started, we're good right there. Now we're putting the ones on the side. Start that. Just like this. Not all the way down, we're just starting it. Now we're gonna grab the other 8 and start that. Okay, so now that all the screws are started, we're gonna go ahead and tighten it down. Not too much torque, so just like that, that's good right there. I'm gonna do this one, still keeping that bottom one loose. That's tight. And now we can tighten down the bottom one. All right, so that's the end of the video. I got the vehicle fully assembled. Last thing to do is just put in that negative terminal for the battery, start the vehicle up, and then look down in that corner over there, look for any oil leaks that you may have. It's gonna have either some really big smoke coming through there, and you'll definitely see oil leaking down on the floor. On the first startup, don't be scared if you do see some smoke. That is going to be normal, because when we remove the valve cover, a bit of that oil from the engine block or the cylinder head drips down the edge and does land on that catalytic converter. So a little bit of smoke, don't worry about it. It should go away within 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Quick test drive, make sure everything's burned off and you're good to go. So I hope I gave you the confidence you need to get this job done. I gave you all my tips, my tricks, anything that I do use in the shop currently today. So if you liked the video, if you learned something, or if I helped you save some money, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.